Hello again. Just making a quick video. This one's a little bit different than normal. I'm just going to do a little bit of a review and my thoughts on the Cub Cadet Challenger 500. This is a 2015 model. I've owned it for probably around 18 months, and in that time I've put about 6 hours on it. I just don't have the time. I bought it just to go take it hunting and go out and play around with young fella and take it to the beach and things like that, but you just haven't had the time, so most of the time it just sits in the shed and I don't have a problem with it, so that is what it is. On it, the hour meter is I think 650, so it's not had a lot of use at all, but the person I got it off, yeah, pretty hard on it by the looks of things. When I got it was, I'll just give you a quick rundown. I bought it as a project. It was sold to me as not going and needing a lot of time and money, and it did. I had to replace primary clutches, secondary clutches. I had to, and after I'd done all that, found out that it wasn't charging. So I had to pull it all apart again and get a new stator and charging system in, rectifier and regulators, starting stators. Put them in there. I replaced lots of parts. The whole front end had to get rebushed. Brake pads were down to bare metal all the way around on all 5, because there's 5 disc brakes in this, because it's got a disc brake handbrake. It had no windscreen on it, none of the lights worked. It was a mess, and I spent a lot of time and quite a substantial sum of money getting it up to speed. But it is now, and it seems to be pretty reliable. I won't bore you with the details of how my brand new parts, genuine parts, exploded 15 k's into the bush, and I had to get towed out last time I took it in there. It's not a sore point at all. But never mind. The review is on the bike, not my experiences with subsidiary parts and things like that. So I've just got a quick list of my pros and cons. But yeah, first of all, it's a, if I haven't said it already, it's a 2015 Cub Cadet Challenger 500. I think it's identical to the Massimo MSU 500 and 700s. I think all the same. You can get a 500 and 700. As far as I know, they're a Hisun that gets made in China, shipped around the world and rebranded with whoever wants to put their coloured plastics on it and their brand name. That's the long and the short of it, as far as I understand. Yeah, so I'm not worried. I didn't know any of that when I bought it. I thought it would have been a genuine Cub Cadet, and Cub Cadet has such a great name around the world. It's like, man, this is going to be awesome. Yeah, but it's good, but it's no Polaris, I'll tell you that. But the pros, this is just a quick video. The pros, it is so comfortable. There's going to be a few clips and footage, whether it's now. Or at the end of the video of me going under the bush, and I just found a paddock with some just rutted up things. I just drove through that and sped down the road a few times and just done a couple of generic shots of it doing the basics. Yeah, and it goes alright. But the pros and cons, it's a pro the size and it's a con the size. Like the pro is, there's so much room in this. And the tray, which is a tilt tray as well. The tray is so big, I can fit some of my excuses as why I'm such a bad hunter. That's a lot. So, yeah. Yeah. the features that they have, the Chinese, they do some great work and great development. Like this is this one, I don't know if they have different models, but this is a factory LSD that and it goes almost anywhere in that. Like, you know, I have to stick 4-wheel drive very, very seldom. Like it's boggy or muddy, you know, it just climbs. It's great. And if you do get stuck, you can select 4-wheel drive, touch of a button, bang, 4-wheel drive, and then you hit another button, and it's got front diff lock, and it just locks everything up. And I've used it once, and I was stuck on a rock. I'll play the video now. And the quality of the video was pretty average, don't get me wrong. We're in the bush, it was raining. Mate used his phone, it was pretty old phone, and because I left my GoPro at home. And man, fantastic. It's fuel injected, so and cheap to run. I did maybe between 100 and 150 k's in the bush, and most of it was just puttering around. But yeah, I used 3/4 of a tank of gas. That's just so cheap. Loved it. The display on the dash is, it's getting a bit old now. It's got the basics, but it shows everything. Now the only thing that doesn't work on this thing, the only thing that doesn't work is the speedo isn't working. So I'm thinking I've got a bad sensor or a broken wire somewhere. So I'll get into that because I like to know it. It's no speed machine. Some of the cons, the noise. The centrifugal clutch is so noisy. Inside anyway. Like when my young fella's in it, he has earmuffs on, and yeah, you get used to it. But I personally find it is so loud compared to other ones anyway. The width. It's so big, and this model has guards that stick out a lot, and they don't fit down a little tracks we have here. Like a lot of the tracks we have in the bush here are designed for a 4-wheeler, and that's it. And this is, me and my mate were at the Polaris, and this Polaris that's a big bike, and this is probably this much wider. So I was scrap. I didn't think I was coming back with any guards on this thing. Place I got stuck on the weekend, but there's no here nor there. The weight, she is heavy. She's a big girl. I think I've seen something around the 500 mark, which I find that hard to believe because my Mini is behind it, and that's a solid car, and a Mini is 500 kilos, I think, 500 or 600. But yeah. And the power, the 500cc, it's not impressive. You wouldn't even spin the wheels. Like if you were trying to, you couldn't do a burnout in this unless you were really trying, or put some lubricant on the ground, because it's gutless. But she's a big girl, and it's 500 kilos, allegedly. I don't know how many pounds that is. 9,000 pounds? I don't know. But it does what it needs to do. I wouldn't, if I was a farmer, I wouldn't have one. Not a chance. I don't think, and not New Zealand, because Kiwis are rough on gear. This is a great hobby farm, well, I would say, or light work. It depends what sort of farming, I guess. Like I'd like to retract part of that statement. I wouldn't take it in some of the areas we've got on the dry stocking farms where your hills are, that's your land. It's up or down. Oh no, I wouldn't want one of these. I'd spend the money and buy a Polaris or a Honda. But I didn't, because I don't, and this is just a hobby. One of many. It's pretty clean at the moment too, because I just washed it, came back from the bush, washed it, greased it up, and I like clean things, so it's clean. That's the ins and outs. The things I've done to it. Like when it turned up, I had no windscreen, no roof. Like I said, and nothing worked basically. It was just, and when I started pulling it apart, it was literally, I think I washed at an estimate about 100 kilos of mud out. Like I had to get the high pressure hose, my water blaster, sorry, to wash the mud off my trailer because it was just caked. Wherever you could see, it was just crammed in. It was deep. And so whoever had this before me, they were hard on it. But yeah, I do enjoy it. So I've got a windscreen on it. I put a Lexan windscreen on it. I put a UV resistant Lexan roof on it. I put a massive light bar on it. The front end rear, there's a light at the back. I've got a dual gun rack on the back for transporting pew-pews, guns. I put a winch on it because these come out factory with winches, and somebody had flogged the winch and just tore the wiring out. It was just a mess. I spent a lot of time in it. I haven't even used the winch yet because I haven't got stuck in it because the four-wheel drive is so good. And don't get me wrong, it's not hard to get stuck. If I wanted to, I could, but I just can't be bothered. There's no bull bar or bumper as such on the back, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. So I'm going to build a little lip around that. The front bull bar, very sturdy. I've bumped into a few things. The gearbox, yeah, I'd like the low to be lower, personally, especially with the 500. It just doesn't have the grunt to push you. Like when you're stuck, when I got it stuck in two-wheel drive, it couldn't even turn the wheels. Like wouldn't spin them. And if you really pushed it, it would just. But if it was a lower low, that'd be awesome. But it's not. I've hooked the fans up independently. I've got to switch on the fans because they were broken, and the sensors didn't work. So I just hardwired it into an on-off switch relay. I put a lot of sockets in it and USB chargers and fire extinguishers on it and just cleaned it up. I guess the long and short of it is, would I recommend one? Absolutely, but if you could, get a 700. And I wouldn't if I was a farmer that required a lot of hard work. It's hard to explain what I mean. Like I go down to my mate's farm and with his day-to-day use, I wouldn't have this. I'd say this would just, the parts would wear out prematurely because it is solid, but at 600 hours I already have to replace most of the suspension. And yeah, other than that, and the driveline. So yeah, I've replaced the driveline and the suspension. And there's just a lot of little bits and pieces that it's not really made for what I would call hardcore farming in New Zealand. But yeah, other than that, it is a good bike. It starts first time every time. I'll kick it in the guts and see if you can hear how loud this CVT is just at idle. Oh yeah, and it's left-hand drive, which is really strange for me because we don't have left-hand drive here. I don't know if that whirring and clunking will come up on the camera, but if it does, that's just the CVT. Like I've had the CVT off the side of it and you start it up and it just sounds like a smooth single bang engine. Yeah, but all in all, for what I use it for, it's brilliant. One more con is it's only a two-seater, and that's pretty much, if I sell it, the only reason I'll sell it for what I need to do and what I use it for is my young fella's getting a little bit big to sit on his mum's lap anymore, and he's only got two seats in it. If it was a bench seat, so much better. But hey, I'll roll a couple of clips of some shenanigans, and the footage is pretty low resolution, unfortunately, but it is what it is. So yeah, would I buy one brand new? No. Would I buy one second hand? Absolutely. Would I buy it as a farmer? Nope. As a hobby farmer? Absolutely. And yeah, it's a good bike. I enjoy it, but not enough power. I don't know how many times I've contradicted myself in this video, but it is what it is. Cheers. Thanks for your time.